Well, fans of the show will know that last week Jake had a real identity crisis based on the fact that Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit is now 20 years old, a film that he saw at the cinema when it was released. I, of course, didn't see it at the cinema when it was released because I am very, very young. No, sorry, actually, it's just because I didn't go to the cinema until I was 8 years old. Fun fact. Remember it for trivia quiz. Now, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. What is there to say about this film? An incredible, incredible Oscar-winning stop-motion animation from the geniuses over at Aardman that tells the story of Wallace and Gromit being thrust into a very, very sinister situation when, on the eve of a giant vegetable growing competition, all the produce starts getting chomped. Jake, tell me all your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Now, Wallace and Gromit, to me, is one of the finest creations in history. I think it is actually artistic brilliance. It is so intrinsic. Like Doctor Who, it is Britain. It's the best of Britain. It feels so British, and not only British, but it feels northern. And as a northern Englishman myself, it always had a great resonance. To me, it's awfully comforting. Whenever I feel down, I stick on the wrong trousers, I stick on a Grand Day Out or a close shave, and I'm just happy instantly. It just feels, it's like buttery sourdough toast. It just makes me feel so comfortable. And the characters are just so etched into my soul, my DNA. And this film I watched a lot as a kid. And it still has so much as an adult. It is hilarious. Every line is either the line after it's a pun, or that line's a pun, or it's just layered so well. It is so funny. It's a development of the world because, you know, Close Shave came out, late 90s, 95, maybe a bit later. But, you know, it'd been a while since we'd seen Wallace and Gromit. But, you know, Chicken Run had come out and been a great success. And then this film just develops the world even more. You have hilarious characters. The voice cast delivering great efforts. You know, Peter Kay has the funniest line in cinematic history that has actually been censored from the BBC iPlayer version. They censor Peter Kay saying the greatest comedic line. The first night of the Were-Rabbit has occurred, and a poor vicar, a mad vicar, always great tropes in these horror movies, has detailed the curse of the Were-Rabbit. And then Peter Kay says, well, you know what I think? It's arson. Arson? Arson? Yeah, what are you arsing around? Brilliant, brilliant delivery, excellent work. There's just so many, the jokes, they're just the madness of all these people being obsessed with a giant vegetable growing competition. It's only the mind of Nick Park, Steve Box, the Aardman creators could think of. I love all the stuff they do. It's absolutely incredible. They understand that northern English humour and just the way that things are said are just the funniest things possible. I really think that it just lean into it. And I'm so glad that Vengeance Most Foul came out last year at Christmas and was an absolute roaring success and didn't shy away from this Joker minute, absolutely bonkers piece of work. This film is stellar, and even as an adult I watched it and I actually laughed out loud just at the insanity of it all.
Me too. No, what I think we forget if we don't watch Wallace and Gromit often enough is that actually they're completely universal. I talked about the penguin lessons being something that you can watch really from 12 and up all the way to 2000 if you're Doctor Who. But I just thought that the brilliant thing about Wallace and Gromit is this is so accessible to children, but it is also hilarious to adults. It is the most phenomenally cine-literate thing you have ever seen. All the way through, it is references to classic cinema. Oh, a little bit of Chaplin here, a little bit of, you know, Buster Keaton slapstick here. Oh, an Exorcist reference, you know, like, it's absolutely baked into the DNA of what Wallace and Gromit is, that every single scene will be deeply inspired by some masterpiece of cinema. And often it's quite nice, you know, because it's references to British cinema as well. So it's just brilliant. And what I was struck by how funny this time around watching was there is a brilliant like metatextuality to it, and my favourite example of that is when they're in the church and the were-rabbit has first shown itself, and the vicar says, "The were-rabbit And the organist plays a dun 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 dun.
Cut that out.
It's just glorious. It's brilliant. It's funny. It's metatextual. It's silly literate. They're the smartest people in the universe, the folk at Aardman. And it shows because every single frame is so lovingly put together. There is a joke in every single frame, I guarantee it. And you can watch these films 50, 60, 70 times and you'll still find new jokes. Like, they might be dumb jokes, but they're also clever. And that, we've talked about this on the show before, that's my favourite kind of humour.
Well, there's just some great bits. Like, I know that our producer brought it up, but when they get the big mythic book, you know, straight after Wrestling for Nuns, and it's like, oh, no, not that one. They bring out this monster cryptology book, and it's by Claude Savagely. It's brilliant, just every little thing. You and I, Reuben, are big fans of Jerry Anderson, and just the sort of symbology of that. Another incredibly British IP that resonates, just the eye sockets that just beep up, and then they're just launched into just taking rabbits. Also, the tiny rabbits are the cutest things possible. I always remember when the were-rabbit was giving it the big King Kong, and all the little rabbits would do it too. It's just the cutest thing ever. Woo! It's brilliant. I think, as per usual, the characters of Wallace and Gromit fit into their archetypes very well. Wallace is slightly neglectful, clueless, but also the best inventor known to man. It's just he's clueless as well, so he could probably be putting his talents to medical development, but no, has to save the community vegetable competition. And Gromit obviously being the smartest of any character, just understanding things instantly. And it's just so neatly done. And I think Ralph Fiennes and Helena Bonham Carter are great additions. They don't take away from it at all. They know exactly what film they're in, and you can just tell that everyone's having fun. It's a real masterpiece that, you know, elevates itself from its clay. And we haven't even talked about how much of a technical feat this was. I think, 10 years in the making? Something mad like that.
It's astonishing. And when you think about the fact they're making a second or something of footage a day, the mind genuinely boggles. I cannot conceive of how you would make a film this perfect that deliberately, if that makes sense. You know, it is a perfect machine, like Wallace's inventions. It is properly, ingeniously constructed in a way that I genuinely cannot fathom.
It is a feat. It is a art, and it went up against in the Oscars some very strong contenders. Corpse Bride, which is another stop motion, but also Howl's Moving Castle, one of the most beautiful films ever made. But this film, I do believe it stands above else because it has everything. It has such layered comedy that's so very British, but, you know, Wallace and Gromit is a universal IP. I remember watching the Aardman DVDs and seeing the trailers in Japanese. You know, it's like it travels across the world because it has that Mr. Bean, Charlie Chaplin quality that you can just enjoy it for its slapstick and its humor. And even if you don't get the nuances of all the very northern humorous jokes, it does resonate because Gromit's the central character in all these films. He's the one who makes all the sense, and he doesn't speak because he's a dog. So it's excellent. You were saying that it has other connections to Britain. It feels very Hammer horror. It feels like it does really lean into that. It doesn't feel like it has universal instances, but because of the way it's presented, the Mad Vicar, it does feel very of the British Isles, you know, and deals with horror in a way that Nosferatu never could. You know, it has moments that would be slightly terrifying for a younger audience, and the central monster reveal is hilarious, but also done in a very dramatic way that is quite awe-inspiring. So once again, another film that is 20 years old and beats Nosferatu. Go watch this. Go get it on DVD so you don't watch a weirdly censored version by BBC iPlayer. This film is absolutely 24 karat gold.